All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm Tommy Fresh, but you can call me Slicks. And joining me, it is
Slicks number 2. What is that? Matty Juice. What's going on, everybody? You caught me off guard with the Slicks. Oh my goodness. Is that what we're gonna what is it? Is it Slicks Juice, the podcast? An indie game podcast now? That was great. That was great.
I've been my TikTok algorithm has been feeding me psych clips. So I got
good.
the Gus, you can call me Slicks one the other day, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna make a note of that to say that one on the pod. But how you doing? We got a good episode for you all today. We're gonna review a game called Grind Survivors. Guess what? It's a Vampire Survivors like, and we will see if it's any good because there's a lot of them these days, and I think we've talked about that a minute here. But before we do that, what's going on? How's your week going?
It's going good. Yeah. So far, obviously, it's PAX East week, so I can't wait to stop working and go to PAX, which will be a lot of fun. This past weekend, let's see, Friday, my daughter needed her first flu shot, which made her really fussy over the weekend. So it was a very exhausting weekend. But we saw some friends on Saturday at Baseline Social, which is I don't know how hard that's going to be to get to. For those that don't know, it's near, what is it, Oceanport, New Jersey. And
next to Netflix.
Yeah, Fort Monmouth is being turned into a Netflix studio, and it's not there yet. It's not even close, but it's I wonder just how hard that's going to be to get to in the future. So had a good time there, though. Picked up some good beer, had some great chicken tenders, and also just an awesome place to bring a little baby because there's a lot of TV screens, even though she was a little frightened at first because she woke up in it. But then she was like, whoa, look at all these giant TVs. So
that's like Neo waking up in the pod.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Matrix.
Yeah. That's kind of what it was like. And she's like all teary-eyed looking around for us. And we were hiding, of course. No, yeah, she was all good there. She started rolling over, baby Juice. She's like fully rolling over now, like back to front, front to back, all that stuff. And now she's starting to do it in her sleep, which is a little terrifying because all of a sudden you'll just check the camera and she'll be on her stomach. And you're like, I hope she's breathing, but she actually last night, she slept 11 and a half hours, it said. And it said her longest stretch was 11 and a half hours. So she didn't wake up at all. And she flipped over and she slept for like 5 hours on her stomach. So yeah, she's progressing really fast. It's a lot of fun to see, but she has been pretty fussy because of the flu shot and just like, normal development stuff. She's talking more, wanting to do new things all the time. So that was good. She also had peanut butter for the first time yesterday. We did not do it in the hospital parking lot like I thought we were going to do it. We just gave it to her and she was fine. So it was a big weekend for the baby. She did a lot of things, a lot of awesome things. And it was also a big weekend for Mr. Matty Juice because, obviously because of the baby stuff, I guess, but because I got the AYN, the AIM Thor, baby. There it is.
Yeah.
It finally came straight from Guangdong, China. And I got to tell you, this thing is amazing. For those that don't know, Tom and I both ordered them. It's essentially the reimagining of the Nintendo DS. And it's amazing. It runs Android. I was playing Twilight Princess and watching TV shows on the bottom screen while I was playing Twilight Princess. This thing is awesome. I feel like I haven't even put in enough time setting it up yet. But it's so good. If you guys are looking for a emulation device, I think this is the one right now, especially because it's like clamshell. But I've been holding off. I've never had an emulation device. I've been very tempted to get a lot of them, especially like the Anbernic ones look really cool. But this one sold me, and I'm so happy I got it. So that was the highlight of my weekend, and I'm so excited to bring it to PAX. And it just fits right in the pocket, man. I'm just walking around my house, flipping out Twilight Princess, playing for a few minutes. Boom, there it is. Boom, yeah, exactly, with the sound effects and everything. So that's been awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much everything new in my world. What about you? How's everything going? Did you get anything over the weekend? Did you get...
Oh, actually, well,
Or
it
today?
came today. My Ain Thor came today. I have only just put in the Wi-Fi. I literally opened it 2 minutes before we started the podcast. So excited to jump in, get it set up, and do the same thing that you're doing with it. But my weekend was busy. On Saturday, I worked. I had a beer fest up in Jersey City, and funny enough, like beer fests have been kind of dying, right? In general, people aren't drinking as much. Just people don't care about beer as much. This, that, and the other thing. There was one in Jersey City the weekend before that I didn't go to, that apparently was a dud. But this one was cooking. I was pouring beers for the full 3.5 hours. I kicked 2 kegs and almost a third one. It was pretty fun.
Was it
People
like when
were
we did that beer fest? Like I felt like it was so busy. I don't know if that was a busy one. The
um
AC, was it AC?
AC. Yeah, we did AC together. That one was
It was like in bursts of like a lot of people at once.
we were at the entrance, and I think that really helped us. I don't think the whole like area was or the whole fest was busy that time, but we were very lucky for that one. But you've worked ones with me before where they're just like whatever, it's like you pour one here, pour one there.
Yeah.
But it was busy. I was just there's a moment like in those fests where I just like lock in, and I'm just like, people like will come up to the thing at the same time, be like, oh no, you go, no, you go. And I'm like, stop. Rock, paper, scissors right now. And then they, make them, rock, paper, scissors on the spot. It was fun. It was a good time. But, unfortunately, like all good things, it came to an end. And I had to bring home the jockey box and clean it today. And that is the most annoying thing. But on Sunday, like, banged out the rest of the floor that I've been installing, in bits and pieces.
Looks great.
And
looks real good.
Yeah, it looks good. There's a lot of spots that I need to like kind of, fix. I think not even fix, but like, fill in. But for the most part, it looks good. Lady Fresh was out, doing some yard work while it was still nice yesterday. And, we were just like beat by the end of the day. And I picked up a pizza and we ate that and, passed out.
Hey, we did the same thing.
Yeah.
Spent the day outside and the lady was like, I want pizza. I was like, I'm with you. We got a pizza.
Yeah,
Look at that.
We were so beat, and I had just like went to the gym to like just sweat like normal for a little bit. And then I was like, we're not going to cook anything tonight. I'll pick up a pizza. And it's a good one. It's called the Fra Diavolo pizza. It's like fresh tomato, sausage, and then like banana peppers. It might be missing one thing, but it's like it's got a little spice, a little kick here and there. It's very nice. Yeah. But
we also, sorry not to cut you off, but my new go-to pizza toppings: hot peppers, any type really. There was hot cherry peppers and red onions. So it's like peppers and onions, but it's like elevated. But red onions, highly underrated pizza top.
Oh yeah. It got a little bit more of a punch. I like jalapenos and red onions.
Oh yeah.
That's all pretty good. But yeah, I got a busy week until we leave. Tomorrow I'm like working it feels like I'm going to be working 12 hours by the time I leave the house and by the time I get home. And then I work late Wednesday until like 10, and then I get home and then we wake up and we rock. We go to PAX East, but I'm excited. Now, I'm also excited to announce The biggest announcement of all time.
Oh my god.
I didn't have a good one this week, but we do have a Fresh Juice Discord, and you can pop in there, and it's basically where everything happens, right? All the cool stuff with this podcast. It's a good place to check out like free game deals. We have a nice bot that does that, as well as game announcements, and then also this is where listeners like Capolo just try to annoy me, and and just make things. He knows how to press my buttons, at Capolo, but he sent in 2 questions this week. But shout out, Capolo.
Yeah, the question.
I'm
about
watching
himself.
you. I'm watching you. Let's talk about. Do you have a juicy take this week?
I do. I do have a juicy
Okay.
take. Yeah. I think the Ain Thor is a terrible no, I do.
That would be like funny if that was your juicy take, because like, what's going
Yeah.
on here?
Yeah, it would be. But no, it's great. But yes, my juicy take is I was trying to like frame this in a kind of almost like a blanket statement, but it was kind of hard to do so. But basically, my juicy take is that indie games kind of used to be where we went for like weird experimental, almost like huge risk kind of games, right? And that still exists in the indie world, but I think that we're kind of getting, the indie game sphere is getting diluted with like the AAA approach to things, where it's almost like, what if this AAA game was just 2D and like pixel art? I see that all the time on Twitter, especially lately, where it's a way to promote your games, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, this is like Skyrim, but pixel art. And I'm like, well, that's great. I don't necessarily need that. I've already played Skyrim. So I just think that, um, you know, there's this epidemic almost happening in indie games where they're trying to almost appeal to the AAA audience, but still
Mm-hmm.
keep like an indie feel. And it, it's almost like they're trying to like market it to the board of directors if there was one, right? That's kind of what it
Yeah.
feels like with a lot of these things that I see. So I just think that, to kind of sum it up in a nutshell, the indie we need more indie originality. I think that there is still a really great segment of originality in the indie space, but there's also this epidemic of clones over
Oh
and
yeah.
over, of clones of AAA experiences. And even, how many times, I mean, we're playing a survivor like today. I'm excited to talk about that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
Mm-hmm.
how many times are we going to see, oh, this is the Balatro, but it's chess, right? Which is
Yeah.
fine, but I do think it's a slippery slope at a certain
Mm-hmm.
point where we end up, it is almost like what happened with survival games, where it kind of started, right, with like games like DayZ or Miscreated, and then there was just a flood of all these copycat games. And I feel like it still hasn't fully recovered from it. There's still this precedent, or this reputation. Like the reputation hasn't fully healed, specifically for like survival games. But I even think it's starting to affect like survivor like games, where it's just everything is compared to Vampire Survivors, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's doing something different. And I just think we almost need more original takes on indie games. That's not just a skin on something that is a AAA kind of game. And just the last comment on that is, I saw something recently which had me excited at first, and then I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I was like, I don't know, I don't know about this. Is there was a first imagine a first person survival game where someone's chopping a tree down, but everything was Cuphead themed. And
Okay.
I was like, that's cool, but also Cuphead specifically, they were like, that whole game is an homage to like the 1950s, right? Or 40s, or that art style, right? They hand drew everything. And it's not just a filter you can just put on a game and have that same feeling, kind of like you can see all the love and care that's gone into a game like Cuphead. And I feel like there's almost this slippery slope of like, oh, we especially in the world of AI, but we just need to make it, we just need to relate it somehow to a really popular game, and then it will sell well. And I don't think that that is something that indie is about, and I don't think it's
Hmm.
something that indie games should kind of rely on, right? I think indie should be original games where you're like, wow, this clearly would have been a huge risk for Sony, but I'm glad this exists as an indie game. So it was hard to kind of summarize that feeling, but just something
No,
I've been thinking about as I've been scrolling on like Twitter and stuff. So yeah, that's the juicy take.
I think that you know, I don't. I think you articulated it fine. I think that like you're onto something here. I kind of mentioned a little bit of this last week on the game design side of things. Is like like let's actually think about the experiences we want to give our players. But you know, there's this thing that people don't learn from like creating something, right? Is that the the best version, right? Is and it's oftentimes usually around the original version, but the first version to like really get renowned will always be the default, right? You look at let's look at like the beverage industry, right? The hard seltzer boom happened, and then everybody started making one. And guess
Hmm.
what? White Claw's the one that still sells, and I guess like High Noons, but that's a little bit different. But like White Claw's still the hard seltzer that sells
Yeah.
because that's just what people are like. Oh, maybe I'll try a few other ones. And just go grab a 12 pack of White Claw, whatever. Another great example in video games, Madden, right? People loved NFL Blitz, but it didn't have the staying power that Madden has,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like people just go back to whatever was the best version or the most popular version, doesn't always have to be the same. Like most popular isn't always the best, but
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like, how many of these Vampire Survivors like really pop off? I
Right.
think they get a quick buck, right? Like you get a little bit of money here, and that's fine, and people will really enjoy them, but nobody's jamming it like Vampire Survivors,
Yeah.
right? So I think
Even
you're on the right track.
and even like, I mean, we just talked about Slay the Spire, right? They started something new in the indie space. How many copycats of Slay the Spire have we seen? I mean, so many where
Hmm.
you're like, that looks like it's from Slay the Spire. And then the second game comes out, they didn't, completely reinvent their formula, and it's still they got 500,000 people playing every day, like
Yeah,
it's like
it's
that's what
crazy.
we need more of in the indie world. And I just it's tough because as a consumer, I'm seeing these things on like a clip of a 30-second clip of a game, and I'm like, that looks really cool, but is there any substance really there,
Hmm.
or is it just looking cool for the 30 seconds I'm watching that like little trailer? So yeah, it's what makes the indie space so exciting, because when there's something really new, everyone's talking about it, like
Hmm.
Balatro, right? I remember we were at PAX, was it last year, 2 years ago, whenever it was. I saw a guy playing it on his Steam Deck, and I was like, dude, that game's awesome.
Like
He's like,
in
oh,
line.
yeah. He was like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. And it was like,
It had just come out like a month prior.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so surprised to see someone playing it. But then that was like an indication to me of, wow, this is huge, this game.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so it's just, it's not really, there's no concrete advice here if you're an indie dev listening or something like that. But um, I don't want indie to lose what makes it indie. And I
Hmm.
feel like that's a core part of it. So yeah, but good conversation there.
I
Good
would
one.
say so. I
Yeah.
think it was nice and juicy. I wouldn't say I don't even think incendiary and whatsoever. I think that was a good one. That was a good one. This is something I think
Yeah.
about a lot, right? Like we see a lot of games. We see them, right? We don't play them all, but we see them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of just like that happening. So
Yeah.
let's see if any notable releases are trying to do that. First one I saw it seemed to be like a pretty light week. Maybe it's because it's the spring sale.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that is kind of like, or I'm just not seeing a lot of games. But first one I saw was this is Nutmeg, a nostalgic deck building football manager. First of all, it's soccer, but second of all, it did kind of look cool. I mean, so this one's kind of interesting because I don't really like soccer.
Mhm.
And so I was never like in the fantasy kind of world of like managing soccer teams or whatever, or I don't even know what this is in reference to. But it is a deck builder. So that means it's got to be at least somewhat interesting. So put it here. And I do know nutmeg is a term for like, I don't know if it's like slide tackling or like it's a certain kind of defensive play or you know turnover maybe in the game.
It's a
Who
skill
knows?
move where a player passes the ball through an opponent's legs.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not a turnover or a defensive move, but it is something that you get somebody over on.
Yeah,
But
nutmeg 'em.
yeah, nutmeg them. So yeah, it looks good though. It does like this looks like a pretty good game, and it's got some. I'm assuming that's an English guy.
Yeah, oh, it's gotta be. It's
gotta
gotta
be. It
be.
just looks it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think I always see these like football manager games, even for like NFL. And they've never really been for me, but I think this one's doing like obviously it's a deck builder, but it's seems really well made. You're opening the packs, which is always satisfying. Like just, it's not just kind of like managing menus and things of that nature. It's um, more involved. I feel like this could be kind of an entry game to those football manager games, right? Where if someone is um, into deck builders, but maybe not football or soccer, they would play this and they'd be like, oh, this is actually like I'm starting to learn the players, and then maybe eventually you can get into like a more detailed kind of football manager game. But um, yeah, interesting. I actually would be interested in like an NFL version of this, just because I know those players and like this says that it was set in the 80s and 90s. Relive the days when the tackles were as hard as the mullets were long, and football was about football. I don't really know what that means. I guess there were long mullets in the 80s and
Yeah,
90s.
probably.
So I just don't have reference right for a lot of things in this game, but um, yeah, I think
An NFL one
I
would be
think it's
like before we knew CTE existed,
right.
and
Yeah, exactly.
you
And
just hit somebody as hard as possible.
man, I don't know if you can hear my daughter. She is screaming in the
I
background.
cannot, but I'm
Okay.
sure she's saying some good stuff.
She's getting ready for bed, it seems like. Yeah, it's just it's almost like you would think someone was stabbing her. Um
Yeah, maybe.
yeah. But yeah, so yeah, and obviously they put a lot of work in this trailer too, right? I mean, like, look at this.
Hmm.
This is really impressive. So yeah, hopefully it does well when it comes out in a few days.
Yeah, and another one I saw that was kind of interesting was No Vacation for an Executioner. This one looked
Ooh.
pretty interesting. I mean, it looked like I guess survival horror, but I feel like I like the kind of PS2 art style here. I think like those games are arguably more scary, right? Than like the super like I think like horror in games benefits from worse graphics sometimes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I'm just hearing like
Just listening.
bloody murder.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's almost like less is more kind of situation. Especially with like this art style, it can be easy to get like surprised
Hmm.
about things that you might not have realized were there. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, this is not really a genre I hop into, but this one did look cool, and I think it has a decent amount of hype around it.
Yeah.
I also love the name. No Vacation for an Executioner is just kind of badass
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
humble opinion.
Yes, yes. No, it is. It is cool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just, it's bad. It's real bad right now. Yeah. This looks cool. It's supposed to come out today, actually. I guess in 5 hours it's supposed to be out. So there is a demo, but yeah, not my usual genre of game. But I always do appreciate when games are like, this is a retro PS1 style or retro PS2 style. I think that's cool that like people still make those kind of games in that art style because I like those games in that art style. Um, so yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff.
Sweet, sweet. Now, quick question before we hit into the review. Did you get any games on the spring sale?
I did not yet. Honestly, because I haven't even gotten to the ones from the winter sale yet. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the winter sale was like, you know, just
It was not
last
long
week.
ago.
Like,
It's
yeah,
like
I mean,
January, right?
yeah, and I just no, I haven't gotten anything. I haven't even looked to be honest. But have you picked up anything or got anything? You're eyeing.
I got two games that were on my wish list that like were just like relatively cheap. I got Bone Razor Minions,
Oh,
which I had on my wish list for a minute here, and it was like I don't know, maybe like $3 on the sale.
oh man,
But another Bullet Heaven,
yeah,
it and it looks cool. Yeah, and I haven't played it yet, but I picked it up the other night. And then I also got the game. I think you sent it to me, or you mentioned it last week. Typing Escape,
yeah,
the typing game, which was on sale as well. So I grabbed that. But
nice,
yeah,
yeah.
that's it really.
I'm now looking at my wish list and I'm like, oh man, there's so many games that are only like $2 or $3. Should I just get them just to have them? But I don't know. I don't know. Like The Long Dark is a game I've never played that is apparently really good. I don't know. Dome Keeper's on here,
Oh,
sixty
dude,
percent off of like
60% off a Dome Keeper?
yeah, it's $7.
I think that's worth it to even get to at some point.
Yeah,
That's a good like chill and um play on the Steam Deck
yeah. It's just like I
genre.
always think I'm like, all right, will I play this game before the next sale? You know,
True.
because the
But
next
sixty
sale,
percent.
yeah, I
60%.
mean,
That was
it could
pretty
be
good.
70 next time. I
It
don't
could
know.
be, could be.
But yeah, honestly, I didn't even realize the sale was happening until I just went on Steam and saw it was live. So it just time has been flying by um, for this. But yeah, cool, cool stuff. Let us know in the Discord if you guys picked up anything or if you find any good deals for any cool games. I know there were some questions about some games in the future, Capolo. So maybe those will go on sale in a future sale.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. Now let's talk about the game we're reviewing this week. Grind Survivors, which is out now. So this is a Survivors like. This is from Pushka Studios and published by Assemble Entertainment. It is $12.99, but 25% off until March 30th, which pretty good deal there. It's a fast-paced action roguelike where demon hunters face endless hellspawn, dodge, loot, and blast through brutal bullet hell combat with dynamic builds and ever-changing weapons in a scorched, demon-ridden world.
Ooh.
Let's talk about the gameplay here. I mean, just right off the bat, the actual gameplay. You hop in, you're just shooting guns. You can go on auto shoot and aim if you want. That's how I was playing because I don't mind playing games like this where I have to actually like control and shoot. But I think for this, I just want to hop in and they experience and collect as much as I could.
Yep.
So I hopped in, I did the auto aim and shoot and or fire, I guess. And shoot. Sounds weird when you say it like that. But yeah, you're running around and you have X amount of time you have to get through, and there's going to be a boss at the end. We've all played stuff like this in these runs. It's not quite endless like you would find in some of these other games. There is an end in sight every time you hop in, and you're going to get kind of these notifications, like or like indicators on the map or the heads up display, I guess, like where
Yeah.
certain upgrades will be, right? You just have to get to them, you stay in them for X amount of time, and you'll get like an upgrade on your dodge or your fire rate or stuff like that. You can even just get extra XP. And the enemies drop stuff like your experience points, obviously, to like level up in the game or in the run, and then also currencies to use outside of the run, which we'll talk about in a sec. They'll also drop guns that you'll be able to use in future runs as well, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
And the one thing about the thing that I mentioned before, where you can get the upgrades during the run, they all have the different kinds of rarity indicators by color, which like will be kind of consistent with all of the things that come in different rarities. So like you got your green, which is like your common. I think it's blue is rare, purple is epic, and then like yellow is legendary. So it's going to be kind of like alongside of whatever amount of whatever you're going to get from those buffs. And then when you die, or if you complete the run, you go back to the main menu. And I think this is where actually let's talk about the upgrade system first within the run. You're going through there's two things that I really really like what this game is doing on the gameplay side maybe I've seen it in other Survivors likes, but I feel like it's really doing it well here. Is when you are leveling up and like choosing your next thing, like your next buff, you see like almost like a little roadmap to what each buff is going to go to. Right, it's 4 of each, like a little diamond, and you start with the first level, and then next time you upgrade, if that's an option, you can always re-roll. You can upgrade to the next level, and it'll do something even better. It's not like a strict upgrade either. Sometimes it'll do something different. Like there's one that gives you a shield, and in the second version of it, the shield regenerates faster. It's not like you get a second shield, but like in the third one, you'll get the second shield. And then the fourth one is like when you have a shield, everything else is buffed or whatever. There's also a synergy thing where if you have one buff, it will coincide with another buff from a different skill tree within the game. So that's cool to find as well, and you upgrade those or you unlock those synergies. But anyway, I thought that was really cool. I felt that was like a way more on rails way to approach the buff system in a game like this. And then also outside of the game or the actual runs, when you go back to the menu, there's a lot of options, right? There's a lot of customization. There's a lot of ways to upgrade your stuff. You can take your guns and like sacrifice them to make a better gun, right? I think you call them forge in this game, and you'll do stuff like that to basically increase your potency in your future runs, as well as there's a skill tree, and then there's a whole bunch of other options. There's like a million options when you get to the main screen, like for you to do. So if you want to really dive deep into a game like this, I think this is a good one to do it, because I think it's really executing all of this well. I also like that there's certain points in this game when you're upgrading that like it'll say you have a risk of losing all the upgrades, right? So like you can only do it so much. But overall, actually, I kind of like this. I mean, this is kind of more what I like out of a game like this, like a Vampire Survivors, is where like I know what I want to collect because I know how I want to upgrade stuff, and I also know what I want to do within my run, like whether it's just kind of upgrading one thing or trying to find the synergies, etc. So I enjoy the gameplay here. It's difficult. It is a difficult game, I would say. Like once you get past the first level, it ramped up big time, I thought. So how was your experience with it?
Yeah, I think it was good. I mean, I feel like it's pretty polished. I also played on the auto ability, auto fire setting. I found that it was pretty sufficient. I didn't really feel like I needed to aim, although you still do have the option, obviously, to like aim and fire if you want to. And it took me a little bit to realize what you were saying about like the path for each upgrade of like that's what that was. But I also agree because I think it's a great feature. Um, because especially I don't know, I always think of Vampire Survivors. Um, and I never knew. I never knew what evolved what, all that sort of stuff. You'd have to like look up what exactly evolved something, at least in the early days. I don't remember if it's different now. So I appreciate that. I thought that the fact that not all these like points of interest are like showing on a map, like they they pop up on your kind of right your heads up display or HUD or whatever, as you kind of get close to them, right? So it's like you are not seeing all these points of interest at once. It's almost like this moment of, oh, there's like an upgrade to my accuracy here or to my XP buff or whatever it might be. So I appreciated that. I thought that that made for, just uh, an exciting moment because you're not immediately like any game. I think of Halls of Torment, for example, where you kind of see like the points of interest all at once, really, or you can, and then that's it for like that level. It's not like there's going to be more that drop down, or like in Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, there's like points of interest that will drop down during the run, that are exciting. So I think that this game did that well, where like each run felt like there were different upgrades for you to go get, and you didn't know what was right around the corner. So I appreciated that. I think it does have a good amount of difficulty to it, which is normal in these kind of games. But I did, at certain points, you're like, oh my god, I only have like one heart left,
Hmm.
um, and maybe you're not realizing you're getting hit. Things like that are kind of happening in this one. I have a lot to say like about the art, to be honest. That's where most of my commentary is going to come in, but I think that the runs are solid. I would maybe like a little bit more variety in the enemies earlier on. I think that a lot of them are very similar kind of approach to how they're attacking you, similar speeds that they're coming at. I didn't get like super far into the game. I'm sure it evolves, the further you go on. But just earlier on, it'd be nice to have a little bit more variety there. And I really liked the menu system. There is a lot to grind in this game. But
Whoa.
yeah, but after I finished my first run and I saw the menus, I was like, wow, there's a ton you can do here. Obviously, you have your skill tree, and then yeah, there's that kind of forging where if you pick up items of the same type, you can merge them together to make a stronger one. So you have to figure out, okay, I picked up three dual SMGs, but this one has a buff that I really like. So let me merge the other four, or whatever the other ones into that one. So that I get, it's a stronger gun. I like that a lot because I think that like you mentioned, you can kind of easily figure out what you like, but also it makes it so that you're not just like, oh, I got another, I got a duplicate, right? And
Hmm.
just a waste of time. Maybe you like dismantle it for some currency or something. But no, in this game, you're dismantling it to make your main gun more powerful. And I think that was really smart of them to do. Um, and yeah, I also just another thing about like the quest system, which I always, I generally have a problem with the quest system in a lot of games like this because for whatever reason, and maybe this is the case way later on in this game, but for whatever reason, some of these survivor games you have to like choose the right character with the right combination, like loadout, to qualify for a certain quest, right? And I just appreciated that in this game, it was just like, reach level 5, reach level 10, defeat this enemy. It didn't, at least from what I saw, it did a lot of it didn't have to do with like get 10 kills with, the revolver, and I'm not using a revolver. So I'm like, well, that's a useless quest. Like that would happen a lot actually in Halls of Torment, where it'd be like, you know, get 500 kills with the flamethrower. And I'm like, well, I don't want to use the flamethrower, like I want to use what I want to use. And I just, at least earlier on in this game, I thought that was pretty well done and didn't make you feel like you were wasting your time, essentially. There's a lot of things in this game where I felt like I wasn't wasting my time doing it, which I think is a really, quintessential part of these survivor like games, because it is such a grind. Everything you're doing in these runs matters so much. It should be counted towards something. So you're picking up extra weapons, even though they're duplicates. You can combine them to make your main weapon stronger. You are, going through this quest system, which doesn't seem to be necessarily tied to specific things that you have on your character. I'm sure there are quests like that, but at least early on, they're not kind of, um, uh, what's the term? Gate. What is it? Oh my God, I'm blanking. What do people do?
Gatekeeping?
Gatekeeping. They're not
Yeah.
gatekeeping certain upgrades because you're not using the right, you're not using the right character loadout. Yeah, so I think from the gameplay, everything felt pretty smooth. It's got a good amount of difficulty to it. And I'll be honest, like, I was going to kind of mention this at the end, but this does tie to the gameplay. If this game was the first of the survivor like games, like if this was the Vampire Survivors, I think it would be a pretty big hit from the gameplay standpoint.
Hmm.
Because they're doing a lot of things right here. Now, obviously, they're taking inspiration from a lot of things, but just from the pure gameplay standpoint, I think that, um, this game is better than Vampire Survivors, if I want to say it like that.
Whoa.
I know, just from the game, like pure
Yeah.
gameplay, at least for me specifically,
Yeah.
I was having a lot of fun playing it. So, anyway, but there's a lot of other factors that go into, a survivor like as well. So we'll talk about that.
Sure.
But yeah.
We'll move on to the story, which there is not very much. We just kind of have this setup that you're the demon hunters that are just out here killing demons. It's not really what you're playing a game like this for.
Yeah.
The character, like the world is cool, right? We'll talk about actual like character design and stuff like that, but like the world is cool. I feel like I got a little bit bored. I felt like we should have been able to unlock the second world like sooner so that you can see more of this world that they've built. But that's just kind of like a minor thing. But yeah, not really a lot of story to talk about here.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, is what it is. Not a lot of story, but you're not looking for a lot of story in these kind of games. Although I will say, we'll talk about the art, but a lot of the art reminds me of Gears of War, and Gears of War's got a good story. So there was an opportunity here, but they, this could have been the Gears of War Survivor like.
It kind of feels like it at that point.
It does,
right?
yeah. It does, yeah.
Now visually, I like how this game looks. I think it's really clean. The menus we already talked about, like the heads-up display, is super easy to read. You know exactly what everything is all the time, and the indicators, the classic, color versions of different kinds of rarities is always nice. I'm a big fan of that when when games have that. I'm like, yeah, the purple one's the best one or whatever. Like, but no, wait, there's one that's better. It's gold. But I like that. And the character design's pretty neat. I mean, I think the enemy design can leave a little bit to be desired here.
Yeah.
But I love the look of the main character, right? This like, I don't know. It's almost Hell Diversy and in a good way, which I like, and um, I love the look of the guns, and the menu just is awesome, and the actual upgrades look so cool. You
Yeah.
know, there are certain upgrades that, like, there's like an ice one that's like super.
It's this, Tom. All right. It's Gears of
Okay,
War.
all right,
It's
all right, all right,
exactly
all
what
right.
it is.
Okay, okay. I just more familiar with the Helldivers. But like the actual upgrades are really cool. I fully leveled up one of the fire ones, and like
Yeah.
the animation's really cool. Also, the I did a ice build that like was really neat as well. Yeah, so I think they clearly put in a lot of work here, and I
Yeah.
think it's paying off. It's a good looking game, and definitely one that I
Hold on.
I okay. It's Gears of War. I don't care anymore.
Look at that. Tell me that doesn't look pretty dang similar to the
it
main
looks similar.
character.
It looks
It looks
similar. It looks
pretty
similar.
dang
Okay.
similar. All right. I'm
Um,
filing a lawsuit.
but anyway, yeah, it's a good looking game. I think
Yeah.
it's not perfect, but they do a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, I like the character design, but I think that the UI here is one of the best UIs in a survivor like that I've seen, because you've got all the information you need, right? You've got your reload timer right next to your character. You've also got like your skill kind of cooldown, I believe, on the top left. You got your XP bar, you know what level you are. You've got on the screen all the time what the toggle is for auto fire and auto ability. I can't tell you how many times like I'll put on auto fire in another game and they don't have that. I have to go into the menus to be like, how do I turn this off? Right. I want to try it more manual now. You've got your ammo, everything in the top right. You got the kills, your score, everything. Everything is on this that you would need. I know it's a little hard to see on the gameplay here. Let me see. I can move that down. No, it's cropped out. Anyway,
Hmm.
but it's yeah, you got everything you really do need on this UI, and I really like it. At first I was like, wow, this is a lot of information, and then I was like, oh, this is all the information I usually look for. And I don't need to like, finish a run to figure out how many kills I was at, right? Or what my score was or anything like that. So I really like the UI here. I think it's super well done. I think the art style is for the characters and the enemies, like it's solid. I like the character design. I agree. I think like there's something left to be desired with the enemies in particular. But the gunfire, everything is like really satisfying to look at. And then obviously there's a dying animation here, so I think that's pretty well done. And then I even think the main menu, even though there's a lot of options that you get, everything is broken down pretty easily. It's not super complicated, but there's a lot of things you can do. So I think that you know, honestly, I think that they knocked it out of the park overall with the art style here. Now obviously there are some inspirations, definitely from Helldivers. I always think Gears of War with this, specifically, especially like even looking at these little icons of all the guns, like that is something that like Gears has done for years. Of like that's how they present it in their game, is kind of like the side profile, and they look, even some of the guns look really similar. So I wouldn't be surprised if the developers of this game were like fans of Gears of War, because it's very much like it in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think you know there's a lot they throw at you here, but it's all pretty well thought out from the art standpoint. And yeah, I think they did a great job with it. There are a few things, like I said, with the enemies, and even just like some of the I don't know, I'm trying to think, like the particle effect, like things that happen in the runs that I wish were a little bit more exciting. Like
Hmm.
when you complete a specific skill circle, the enemies get pushed back. But I don't know. I've played other games where like that moment is a lot more exciting. things like small things like that that don't really affect the overall gameplay, but they would just be a nice to have, that I think they could improve upon. But overall, I think they did a really good job, and it's also a part of the reason where I thought if this game was the first one to be a survivor like kind of game, it like people would fall in love with it. For the art and then also for like the core gameplay loop.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the sound and music side of things, honestly, I don't really have much notes here. The only note I have is Matrix music, which is kind of funny. That movie is 26 years old now, and still, if there's guns in a game, they can't help but make it Matrixy, and which is fine. I think it's totally fine. It's I get a little sick of it pretty quickly, so I kind of actually like tuned out. But um, other than that, like everything else was pretty satisfying in terms of the sound effects.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad, and that's all I really asked for out of a game like this.
Yeah, I'm with you. It didn't make a huge impression on me. But yeah, I think it's serviceable. Yeah, it was fine. I don't really have a lot of notes on the sound either. Maybe I would have liked a little bit more squishy sound effects, something like that, maybe. But that's about it with certain things. So, yeah.
Sweet, and it performed well for you. I played on desktop.
Yeah, I played on the deck, the Steam Deck. Jeez, the Steam Deck. It does have some warnings about like text being too small and all that, but everything ran great. I had no issues whatsoever.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So that's going to bring us to our final rating. Our best games in the world are Certified Fresh Juice, followed by a Steel, On Sale, Manager Special, Spoiled Milk, in that order. Matthew, what is Grind Survivors to you?
So to me, I'm gonna give Grind Survivors a high on sale. All right. So with all the praise I've kind of given it, right? I still also do think that this is it's a survivor like, right? So like the real experience here isn't that much different from other survivor likes I've played. There's not, in terms of the runs themselves, there's not a lot going on here that's that different or unique. Like even Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, you're kind of mining, like they're changing up the way the runs work. They're timed, like very shortly timed, so you have to kind of move to the next level. I just felt like there's a lot of good things here, and this is the reason I keep bringing up if this was the first one, this would have done really well, but the fact that it's not kind of
Mm-hmm.
knocks it down a few pegs for me. I think the most innovative stuff here is like the menu system and what they've done with combining guns and recycling weapons and having all those options in the menu. I think that that's great, but that also isn't the core gameplay. That's kind of what I'm knocking it down a few pegs for. So yeah, I'm giving it a very high on sale. I do think, it's right now it's under $10. I think this is a fun game if you are a survivor like fan, but if you're not a survivor like fan, I don't know if this is the game that gets you into it. So that's where I'm landing on it. What about you, Tommy? What are you thinking?
I'm a little bit higher on this, but mostly because I actually think the the reward kind of management that you do in the menu is actually like really elevating this game beyond just the actual gameplay. Now the actual gameplay is fine, right? It's like it's not too much different. It's not really giving you a whole lot to do. It's just like survive, right? Which I guess is in the name.
Mhm.
but you know, but I like the just like go around, find perks or find buffs in the little areas that you have to unlock, and then whatever you play against the boss. It's not very deep, but the actual perk upgrading feels very deep, and I thought that was a really positive thing. Now, the thing that I keep coming back to, which is why I'm going to give it a steal, is I loved how much I can dive into the menu and the upgrades like outside of runs. I loved it. So what I asked myself was if if this game was just a sim, right? You don't actually go on a run. You build out a character and it goes and you sims it out, and you come back and you have all these rewards and you get to like manage it. Would I still enjoy the game? I think I would still really would. I think
Yeah.
that would be, you just get the nice little like bonus of getting to play a survivor like to actually go get that stuff. So it's not a perfect game, right? I think that it lacks some depth in some areas, but like really exceeds in depth in others. So I think that if you are into really diving in, right, with like the inner workings of like your build, this is the game for you. If you're more like I just want to like zone out and like do a Vampire Survivors run where, you know, I'm just gonna like randomly pick upgrades, this, that, and the other thing. I think that
Yeah.
that this might not be the game for you. So
Yeah. No, I think you make good points there. And yeah, it really comes down to like what aspect of the game do you find the most engaging? And I don't know, just the more like survivor like games we play, I feel like my standards are getting higher, right?
mhm.
Kind of in a way. But yeah, I think it's a good game though. So
Yeah.
which is nice because there's definitely survivor like games that I play that are like there was not a lot of effort put into this. You
Mhm.
can definitely tell the effort's there for this one. So yeah, there you have it,
So
folks.
there you have it. Now, next week we'll be returning from PAX East, so we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll talk about some of our favorite games that we played there. We always have games that we really enjoyed, right? So, hoping that that is going to be, um, you know, sorry, I just got a weird text from my wife. But you know, that's okay. She's a gem. But yeah, we're gonna have a good time now. I just got another weird text from my co-host. My God. Anyway,
Good for him.
we have some listener questions. First from Capolo, who is now what the AI question agent.
Yes, that's him.
Just Capolo loves AI, folks. I don't know if you've noticed, and this question has to do with AI. In your opinion, is the rise of AI-driven coding and asset generation ultimately a positive or negative development for the indie game industry? We've talked about this quite a bit. I think that if you can use a tool to help you, right? Like I think using it as not a replacement for something that somebody else should have done or you should have done. I think that that's when things get a little iffy, especially asset generation, because asset generation, is pulling from something. So,
Yeah.
there's an issue there. But like, if you're having trouble with a line of code, which I don't really know anything about, like I have to imagine certain, you know, administrative AI agents are probably very helpful there. We already deal with half of that anyway, just like against our consent in the world. You just Google something and like, boom, there's an AI prompt for you right there.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on it. But I don't know if you have anything because you deal with it a lot more.
Yeah, I just started using Claude code at my job. Claude, which is like it's like ChatGPT, but it has native integrations with a bunch of platforms. So like I can literally talk to an AI chatbot right now and update things on our website rather than me going in and having to do it. So that's been great. But in the in the you know the perspective of indie games, I think it's ultimately a negative development for the indie game industry, and not because of the output, right? Like obviously it could help indie devs do things that they're maybe not great at, or it could help troubleshoot things, where if there's a bug in their game and they can't figure out where it is, like you can have an AI look and it can maybe identify where it is. but I think it's a negative just because of the perception of
Mm-hmm.
AI. So actually, this is a very fitting question because recently I saw a game on TikTok that I thought looked interesting, and I'll probably still pursue checking it out. But the top comment on that video was there any AI used for this game? The developer responded and said that there was in kind of the discovery phase of the game, and for coding, but no art assets or anything like that was used. Like AI was not used for that. And the amount of hate that that developer got from that kind of fits nicely with this question where, like, even if you're using it in a way that we think is okay, or maybe like, Capolo, you might think is okay, I think the general consensus right now is that any AI usage, generative AI usage, is bad,
Mm-hmm.
which is very similar, like everything that was happening with crypto and all that. And like, obviously, that they tried to get that into the gaming industry and did not work. And I feel like I feel like the thing with AI is it's a little sneakier, right? Even this massive game that just came out, Crimson Desert, that a lot of people are really excited about. They made a public statement, I believe yesterday or maybe this morning, that they did use AI in their kind of discovery phase for the game as well when they were testing things, and some of that accidentally, which we keep hearing, made it into the game, and they're going to work on removing
Yeah.
it. So it's like, well, are you removing it because you got caught or because you actually didn't want it in the game in the first place? So I just think that, they made that choice, right? Because of the perception of AI, not because of how good the game actually is, because they used AI or anything like that. Like, just talking about generative AI. Obviously, there's AI for NPCs and things like that have been around for years. Um, but yeah, I think overall it's a negative development until the public perception changes on what is acceptable, you know, for AI usage. Like once people are like, okay, you can use it to code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I feel like it'll be a little bit more on the positive side of things because indie devs, I imagine, might help it, might use it to code, but not use it for art assets. I think that's the real that'll never people will never get over AI being used for art assets, but I feel like I could see them being okay with using it to help code things because some people have great ideas for indie games and they just don't have the skills to code it, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, some artists might have great ideas for indie games but just not know how to code it. So, uh, yeah, I think overall it's a negative development just because of public perception. So, good question though, Capola.
Yeah, yeah, good question. And then the alternate question that you submitted as well, it's kind of like something I was thinking about too. And the question is the trade off of lower production costs and a higher volume of releases worth the potential loss of more curated, high budget, and less frequent indie titles? I wonder what program you used to ask that question, Capolo. um, uh, I, um, but yeah, I think that's exactly the issue here. Is like, um, why do we want more indie games of lower quality? We want just high quality. Like good things take time, right?
Yeah.
Like I look at it this way, right? I just redid this room over here. We're getting some new furniture for it. Now we can't afford like really nice furniture. Like, so we're gonna do like Wayfair, which is like really cheap, and it's fine. It's like in a pinch, it's gonna work really nicely, and it'll look good. But quality wise, like you know,
That's what we
it's
have.
gonna be, yeah, exactly. It's like we're getting rid of something soon that we got when we moved into our first place that we got from Wayfair. It was like fine for a couple of years, but like are getting rid of it. But like my parents had like a table from like 30 years ago that they're still using.
Yeah.
It's there's there's a difference in quality. You know, it's like, you know, if you want to like get the good thing, it's going to take time, but it's also going to have staying power too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think uh even looking at like Baltro, right, where there's supposed to be this
Hmm.
other update coming out, and now Local Thunk's just like it's gonna come out when it's ready. And I've
Yeah.
seen most people are like, yeah, like that makes sense. We're fine with that. Like we want to play something great. You know,
Hmm.
we want you to cook on it essentially. You know, so I'm all for like experimentation with like AI. If this is related to AI, like experimenting to be like, is this a good idea? No, it's not a good idea. But I think that the masses would prefer more curated, not even necessarily high budget, but like higher quality
Hmm.
indie titles in general. So um yeah, I'm with you on that. I think you know, it's like wine, right? You know,
Yeah.
I don't even drink wine, but I know it gets better with age. So
So they
indie
say.
games, the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not high budget. It's just higher than it would have been if you took
Yeah,
shortcuts, right? You know, that's just how it goes. So,
yeah.
um, but thank you, Capolo. You're AI's biggest fan, and somebody's got to do it, Cap. Next question comes from K Moore, who asks, if the villain of the last game you played showed up as your sleep paralysis demon, how fucked would you be?
Well, I've been playing. I guess the last game I played was Twilight Princess, so it'd be Ganondorf. I'd be pretty screwed. I think there's another enemy in that one. I haven't gotten to that far into it yet, but I'd be pretty screwed. But I will say I have never experienced this sleep paralysis in general. Um,
Mm,
like so I don't I've heard people talk about this sleep paralysis demon. I understand what it is and like what happens, but I've never had it watch it's going to happen tonight or tomorrow or whatever, but I've never had it happen to me. So is that like have you had this happen to you, Tom? And
I've
is there
had
a
sleep
demon?
paralysis, but I never like saw like a demon or whatever. It was
Okay.
just like, I mean, like maybe I saw something or like my mind was telling me there was something, but it was never like I'm terrified. It's more like I can't move even if I want to. Um,
I'm just gonna die, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the last game I played was Grind Survivor, so like hordes of demons probably would not bode well for me, to be honest.
Yeah, gotta keep
So,
moving.
thanks for the question, K Moore. Now, we're gonna go down to the rec room where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game, and then we're gonna say goodbye, and we're gonna go to PAX, folks.
Ooh.
What do you have to
Um,
recommend?
I'm recommending this is very specific to the Ain Thor here, that dual screen device I was mentioning earlier. Just a really like kind of what you would think would exist for something like this. It's this GitHub project called Emulink, and essentially it's a very early um, app for the AYN Thor. And essentially, what it is for like games that aren't 3DS or DS games where the bottom screen isn't being utilized, this is an app that runs on the bottom screen that connects to the game that you're playing in real time and then can actually like render certain things. Like you could have a game guide that follows you as you're doing things in the game, right? Or
Whoa.
like you could you know, if you're playing Pokemon, right, it could give you a bunch of extra stats and things like that on the bottom screen. Or maybe you have your bag on the bottom screen, right? So it's kind of like games that aren't necessarily built for dual screen, it gives you support to do cool things with dual screen. The only thing is since it's early, it only supports like 10 games right now. And one of them is Wind Waker, which is really cool. So I have to try that. But I'm just giving a shout out to it. I know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, wouldn't be able to use it or like don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But this is something that I expected would be something like that someone would make, and I'm happy that it does exist because I didn't start looking into it until after I got the Thor, And I think it's really cool. So hopefully, development continues for it. People keep contributing to it. I would contribute to it if I knew how, but I'm not that talented. But yeah, it's a really cool idea and something that I think is gonna really set this thing apart from other emulation devices. So there we go. Check it out.
Sweet.
Emulink, EMULNK. If you have a Thor, check it out. It seems pretty cool. I haven't even set it up really yet. I've just looked at videos. It looks pretty cool. But there you go.
Yeah, that sounds sick. That sounds sick. I mean, that was like always the coolest thing about like the like DS, where like it was a game that like didn't even want to use the other screen, but it would just have the menu down there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's like just better. Like games should just always be like that.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
one of them, I think for Wind Waker specifically, like when you're sailing, the map is on the bottom. So you know where you're going, right? I mean, it's just
Let's
like
go.
amazing, amazing.
That's awesome. Down now to bring down the mood. My recommendation is a new album by a folk artist named Joshua Burnside. Came out with an album last week called "It's Not Going to Be Okay," and I'd caught one of the singles of this, like just from like Discover Weekly or whatever, or like Release Radar, and you know. It was called The Last Armchair. It was great. I was like, oh, it was cool. And then the album came out. Whole album, awesome. I love the way he wrote this album. It's super sad. It's sad folk music. And you know what? It makes me feel good. And I like that. So just some of the writing here is like, there's even like, just like small things. Like they're in Nighttime Person. There's a song called Nighttime Person. It's like, I'm a nighttime person, while everybody's asleep, I go from room to room and listen to the fridge weep. You just think about like that, like sound a fridge makes, calling it weeping.
Yeah.
Come on. That's
good.
But that's good stuff.
I can picture it right now.
Yep. But yeah, check it out. If you like sad folk music, check it out. If you don't, check it out anyway, because it might be something worth listening to. So
there's something about like sad songs that I like.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, just makes you feel, I guess.
Yeah, I tried to get Lady Fresh to listen to it. She's like, this is too sad right now. I'm like, oh, too sad. No such thing.
Yeah, listen to this. Yeah.
Listen to this. This is not even scratching the surface.
Have you heard the Tarzan soundtrack?
Yeah. Have I?
Was
that Phil Collins?
Dude.
Yeah.
I love those videos of like what it's like a reenactment of Phil Collins finding out he's going to do the Tarzan soundtrack. All right, Phil, we're just going to like, keep it pretty tame here, and then like they're just listening to it, they're just like crying like
It's just like really cooked. Did he do El Dorado? Did he do that?
I don't know.
Or was that Peter Gabriel maybe? But
I don't know.
One of the Genesis members maybe. It's just gonna be Elton John.
Let's see. Oh well, I looked up El Dorado. It says that's the mythical city of gold. Let's see. Phil Collins.
Road to El Dorado.
Yeah, I believe. Oh, he did not sing the Road to El Dorado. It was performed by Elton John, composed by Hans Zimmer.
Oh, yeah. So it was Elton John. All right, cool.
There you go. Yep.
Wow, listen, Phil Collins, we still love you.
Yep.
Still love you.
We do.
Just looks like, just
Thanks
like
for listening,
cranking
Phil.
out.
Appreciate it.
Just cranking out bangers and looking like the, IT guy at your job. Just, golly, gotta love it. But that's going to do it for the show, folks. I am still Slicks, but you can find me at Fresh Buds Pod on Blue Sky. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. Just had Agroblaze 96 on this week. Unfortunately, we talked a lot about his experience that he was going to have in Memphis over the weekend, and then his flight got canceled, which is sad. But there's nothing like some content that doesn't make sense to people. So that's gonna be cool. But other than that, You can find us on all socials at Fresh Juice Pod. Where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm, Gorm, on the socials. I've got some unreleased survival games that I'm going to be posting about soon, so stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned and stay juicy.